What if the real reason memory fades after 60 isn't age itself, but something happening quietly inside your brain every single night while you sleep, driven not by genetics or luck, but by the most ordinary daily choice you make without thinking, what you eat before bed? Right now, as you're listening, something critical is unfolding inside your skull, a biological process so important that it decides whether you wake up mentally sharp or slightly more foggy than the day before. And most people never even realize it's happening until years of damage have already built up. This isn't about fear or dramatic claims. It's about understanding a system your body has been running automatically your entire life and how that system slowly changes after 60 in ways that are subtle at first, but deeply significant over time. To understand this properly, we need to start with a question almost nobody thinks to ask. What is your brain actually doing while you sleep? Most people assume it simply shuts down, like a device going into rest mode, but the truth is almost the opposite. When your body becomes still and your awareness fades, your brain becomes highly active, running complex biological maintenance that keeps your memory, focus, and clarity intact. It repairs neural connections, processes information from the day, and clears out the biological clutter that naturally builds up from normal thinking and activity. This nightly work is one of the main reasons you can remember names, follow conversations, and think clearly when you wake up. But here's where things begin to change in a way most people don't notice. After the age of 60, this repair system doesn't suddenly stop, but it does begin to weaken, slowly, quietly, almost invisibly. There are no loud warning signs at first, no obvious breakdown, just small inefficiencies that accumulate over time. And because the changes are gradual, people often attribute them to just getting older without realizing there is a specific biological process behind it that can be influenced. What makes this even more important is that by the time noticeable symptoms appear, things like forgetfulness, mental fog, or difficulty concentrating, the underlying issue has often been developing for years. This is not an overnight shift. It's a long term buildup that starts silently long before anyone connects the dots. And that's where most people miss the real opportunity because they look for solutions only after the problem becomes obvious. But there is something even more surprising at the center of all this, something rarely discussed in everyday conversations about brain health. Your daily food choices, especially in the hours before sleep, have a direct influence on whether this nightly brain repair system works efficiently or begins to break down. Not expensive treatments, not complicated interventions, but simple, ordinary foods that are already part of everyday life. And among them, a few stand out for their unusually strong impact on the aging brain. Before we talk about those foods, though, we need to understand what is actually happening inside your brain at night. Because once you see the mechanism clearly, everything else starts to make sense. Deep inside the brain, scientists discovered a system that wasn't fully understood until recently. For decades, researchers knew the brain was constantly producing waste as a result of normal activity, including damaged proteins and metabolic byproducts. What they didn't fully understand was how the brain got rid of them. The answer turned out to be far more sophisticated than expected. During deep sleep, a fluid known as cerebrospinal fluid begins flowing through the brain in a rhythmic, wave like motion. This movement clears out waste and debris, almost like a natural cleaning system washing through the brain's tissues. This process is now known as the glymphatic system, and it plays a crucial role in maintaining mental clarity and long term brain health. One of the most important things this system removes is a protein called beta amyloid. In a healthy brain, especially one that gets enough deep sleep, this protein is regularly cleared out without issue. But when sleep quality declines, or when the brain lacks the nutritional support it needs to function optimally, this clearance process becomes less efficient. And when that happens, beta amyloid begins to accumulate slowly over time. At first, The buildup is so small, it goes completely unnoticed. There are no symptoms, no clear signs that anything is wrong. But behind the scenes, this accumulation continues quietly, night after night, year after year. And this is where the real concern lies, because by the time memory problems or cognitive decline become visible, this process may have already been active for a decade or more. So the question naturally arises, what does any of this have to do with what you eat for dinner? The answer is surprisingly direct: everything. Because this cleaning system doesn't operate on willpower or intention. It depends entirely on biology, and specifically on whether your body has the nutrients required to support it. Healthy fats that maintain cell structure, vitamins that support nerve signaling, minerals that regulate brain activity, and compounds that reduce inflammation all play a role in keeping this system running smoothly. When those nutrients are missing or inconsistent, the efficiency of this nightly cleaning process begins to decline. Waste clearance slows down, subtle buildup starts to form, and over long periods of time, those small inefficiencies begin to shape how the brain functions. Not suddenly, but gradually, through a quiet accumulation of changes that most people never directly connect to their diet. This is why evening nutrition matters far more than most people realize, because the hours before sleep are when the brain transitions into its most active repair phase. And if the right building blocks are available in the bloodstream during that window, the entire system works more effectively. If they are not, the brain still tries to do its job, but under less than ideal conditions. And this is exactly where the conversation shifts from understanding the problem to recognizing the opportunity. Because once you see how this system works, you start to realize that everyday food choices are not just about general health or energy, but about directly influencing how your brain maintains itself overnight. That understanding changes everything that comes next. That understanding changes everything that comes next. Because once you realize the brain is actively cleaning and repairing itself every night using a highly structured biological system, the next question becomes unavoidable. What is stopping that system from working at its best in so many people over 60, even when they think they are sleeping enough? The answer, in many cases, is not a single cause, but a combination of silent internal pressures that gradually reduce the efficiency of the brain's repair work. One of the most important of these is inflammation, a process that develops quietly in the background and interferes with almost every stage of brain maintenance without most people ever noticing it is there. Unlike sharp pain or obvious illness, this type of inflammation is low level, persistent, and cumulative. It doesn't announce itself, but it steadily changes the environment inside the brain, making it harder for repair systems to function properly. Inside the brain, inflammation acts like a disruption in communication and recovery. It slows down the removal of waste, interferes with deep sleep cycles, and reduces the efficiency of the very processes responsible for memory, formation, and mental clarity. Even more concerning is the way it interacts with sleep itself. Poor sleep increases inflammation, and increased inflammation makes sleep even less effective, creating a loop that gradually weakens cognitive performance over time. This is why many people don't notice a sudden drop in brain function, but instead experience a slow shift, where thinking becomes slightly less sharp, recall takes longer, and mental energy feels reduced compared to previous years. It is not a single breakdown, but a pattern of small inefficiencies building on each other. After 60, this becomes especially relevant because the body naturally becomes more sensitive to inflammatory triggers while also becoming less efficient at regulating them. At the same time, the brain's demand for repair does not decrease. In fact, it remains constant every night, continuing to clear waste, reorganize memories, and restore neural connections. The imbalance between increasing inflammatory pressure and stable repair demand is one of the key reasons cognitive decline becomes more noticeable with age. But what often goes unrecognized is that this balance is not fixed. it can be influenced, and one of the most direct ways it is influenced is through nutrition, particularly the foods consumed in the hours leading up to sleep. This is where the conversation shifts from understanding internal processes to identifying practical support for them. Because while inflammation can disrupt the brain, certain nutrients can help reduce its impact and restore more stable conditions for repair. This is not about quick fixes or isolated solutions, but about consistently providing the brain with the materials it needs to maintain balance. Healthy fats, antioxidants, vitamins, and minerals all contribute to reducing inflammatory load and supporting the systems that operate during deep sleep. And when these are present in sufficient amounts, the brain is better able to carry out its nightly maintenance without unnecessary interference. One of the most effective ways to support this process is through foods that provide structural support for brain cells while also helping regulate inflammation. Among the most powerful of these are sardines, a food that is often overlooked despite its strong biological value. Sardines contain high levels of omega 3 fatty acids, particularly DHA and EPA, which are essential for maintaining the structure and flexibility of brain cell membranes. These membranes are not passive barriers, they are active communication points that allow neurons to send and receive signals efficiently. When they are healthy and flexible, the brain processes information smoothly. When they become rigid or damaged, communication slows down and cognitive function becomes less efficient. What makes omega 3 fatty acids especially important is their role in reducing inflammation within the brain itself. They help regulate the activity of immune cells that, when overactivated, can contribute to neural stress and damage. By supporting a more balanced inflammatory response, these fats allow the brain to focus on repair rather than constant internal stress. At the same time, sardines provide vitamin B12, which is essential for maintaining the protective coating around nerve fibers. This coating, known as myelin, ensures that electrical signals travel quickly and accurately through the nervous system. Without enough B12, this system begins to weaken, leading to slower communication between brain regions and increased cognitive difficulty over time. Another important advantage of sardines is their low level of contaminants compared to larger fish. Because they are small and lower on the food chain, they accumulate fewer heavy metals, making them a safer and more sustainable source of brain supporting nutrients when consumed regularly. This combination of high nutritional density and low risk makes them particularly valuable for long term dietary support of brain health. Alongside sardines, another food plays a different but equally important role in supporting the brain during its nightly repair cycle: avocado. While sardines focus more on structural integrity and inflammation control, avocado contributes primarily through its effect on blood flow and nutrient delivery. The brain is an energy intensive organ requiring a constant supply of oxygen and glucose to function properly. Even slight reductions in blood flow can affect how efficiently it operates, especially during periods of repair and regeneration at night. Avocados are rich in monounsaturated fats, which help support healthy blood vessels and improve circulation. This ensures that oxygen and nutrients can reach brain tissue more effectively, particularly during sleep when repair activity is at its highest. Better circulation means that the brain's cleaning and rebuilding systems have more consistent access to the resources they need. In addition, avocado contains folate, a nutrient that plays a key role in neurotransmitter production and DNA repair. These processes are essential for maintaining stable mood, clear thinking, and long term cognitive resilience. Folate also supports a process called methylation, which influences how the brain regulates chemical activity and repairs cellular damage. When this process functions properly, the brain is better able to maintain balance in its internal environment. When it is disrupted, small imbalances can begin to affect mood, memory, and mental clarity over time. By providing a steady source of folate along with healthy fats, Avocado supports both the structural and chemical stability of the brain. When viewed together, sardines and avocado are not just individual foods with separate benefits. They represent two complementary layers of support, one strengthening the physical and inflammatory balance of brain cells, and the other improving circulation and chemical regulation. This combination creates a more stable internal environment, allowing the brain's natural repair systems to operate more effectively during sleep. And as we move forward, the next foods will build on this foundation, adding further layers of energy support, cellular repair, and nighttime recovery that complete the picture of how diet and brain function are deeply connected. Building on that foundation, the next layer of this system becomes even more important because supporting the brain is not only about structure and circulation, but also about how efficiently brain cells produce and manage energy. Without stable energy production, even the best repair systems begin to slow down. And this is where walnuts enter the picture as one of the most overlooked yet biologically significant foods for long term brain performance. Walnuts are often seen as just another healthy snack, but their internal composition tells a very different story. They contain a unique combination of omega 3 fatty acids, antioxidants, and polyphenols that directly support brain cell function. Unlike some other sources of fats, walnuts provide nutrients that help maintain the integrity of mitochondria, the tiny energy producing structures inside every cell. These mitochondria are essential because the brain consumes a large portion of the body's total energy, even at rest, and especially during sleep when repair processes are highly active. As people age, mitochondrial efficiency naturally begins to decline. This means that brain cells gradually produce less energy while also becoming more exposed to oxidative stress, a type of internal wear and tear that affects cellular performance. Over time, this imbalance can lead to slower thinking, reduced mental stamina, and less efficient memory processing. What makes this even more significant is that damaged mitochondria do not simply disappear. They can accumulate within cells, further reducing efficiency and increasing internal stress levels. The body does have mechanisms to remove and replace damaged mitochondria, but like many biological systems, this process becomes less efficient with age. Walnuts help support this natural maintenance system by providing compounds that reduce oxidative stress and promote healthier cellular environments. This allows brain cells to maintain a better balance between energy production and repair, especially during sleep when these processes are most active. In practical terms, this means that the brain is better able to sustain the energy demands required for memory consolidation and neural repair overnight. In addition to their role in cellular energy support, walnuts also contribute to reducing inflammation in a more indirect but equally important way. The antioxidants they contain help neutralize unstable molecules that can damage cells over time. This protective effect works alongside the anti inflammatory benefits already provided by foods like sardines, creating a broader network of protection that supports brain stability from multiple angles. When inflammation and oxidative stress are both kept under control, the brain is able to focus more effectively on repair rather than constant damage management. What makes walnuts especially valuable is how easily they can be incorporated into a daily routine without requiring major dietary changes. A small portion consumed in the evening can provide a steady release of nutrients throughout the night, aligning with the brain's natural repair cycle. This timing is important because it ensures that energy supporting compounds are available exactly when the brain is performing its most intensive maintenance work. When combined with the previously discussed foods, sardines for structure and inflammation control, avocado for circulation and chemical balance, walnuts add the essential dimension of energy stability. But even this is only part of the larger system, because brain health is not determined by a single nutrient or mechanism, but by the interaction of multiple systems working together at the same time. And this is where the next food becomes especially significant. While walnuts support internal energy production, the brain still depends heavily on sleep quality itself to activate and coordinate all these repair processes. Without deep and stable sleep, even the most nutrient rich diet cannot fully express its benefits. This is why the next food plays a critical role in enhancing the conditions under which all the previous systems operate. That food is spinach, and its importance goes far beyond what most people assume. Spinach is often viewed as a general health food, but within the context of brain function, it serves as a key regulator of sleep quality, nutrient delivery, and cellular protection. One of its most important components is magnesium, a mineral that has a direct influence on the nervous system. Magnesium helps regulate neural activity, reducing excessive stimulation and allowing the brain to transition more easily into deeper stages of sleep. These deeper stages are where the most important repair processes occur, including memory consolidation and waste removal. When magnesium levels are insufficient, which is common in older adults, sleep often becomes lighter and more fragmented. This reduces the amount of time spent in deep sleep, limiting the effectiveness of the brain's nightly maintenance cycle. Over time, this can lead to a gradual accumulation of inefficiencies in memory, attention, and cognitive processing. Spinach helps counter this by providing a natural source of magnesium that supports more stable and restorative sleep patterns. In addition to magnesium, spinach contains nitrates, which the body converts into nitric oxide. This compound plays a crucial role in improving blood flow by relaxing blood vessels and enhancing circulation. Better circulation ensures that oxygen and nutrients are delivered more efficiently to brain tissue, especially during sleep when repair activity is at its peak. This improved delivery system supports all the previously discussed foods, making their nutrients more accessible to the brain when they are needed most. Spinach also provides folate, which works alongside the folate found in avocado to support neurotransmitter production and DNA repair. These processes are essential for maintaining stable cognitive function and protecting brain cells from long term damage. At the same time, its antioxidant content helps reduce oxidative stress, further supporting the brain's ability to recover during sleep. When viewed together, spinach acts as a kind of coordination layer within this nutritional system. It improves sleep quality, enhances circulation, and supports cellular repair processes that allow other nutrients to function more effectively. Without this layer, the benefits of the other foods would still exist, but they would not be fully optimized. At this point, the system begins to take a clearer shape. Walnuts support energy production, spinach improves sleep quality and circulation, avocado enhances blood flow and chemical balance, and sardines maintain structure while reducing inflammation. Each food plays a distinct role, but they all contribute to the same overarching goal: creating an internal environment where the brain can repair, restore, and maintain itself more effectively during the night. And as we move into the final food in the next section, everything starts to come together in a more complete way because that final piece is what amplifies and connects many of these processes simultaneously, especially in the context of long term brain resilience. At this stage, the system is already taking shape in a very clear way. You have structural support, you have circulation, you have energy stability, and you have sleep quality working together in a coordinated pattern. But there is still one missing layer that determines how well all of these processes actually hold up over time, and that is long term inflammation control combined with sustained cellular protection during the brain's most active repair phase. This is where mackerel becomes especially important, not because it replaces anything that came before, but because it intensifies and stabilizes the entire system at once. Mackerel is often underestimated because it looks similar to other oily fish, but its nutrient density places it in a different category altogether when it comes to brain support. It contains exceptionally high levels of omega 3 fatty acids, particularly DHA and EPA, in concentrations that directly influence how brain cells respond to stress, repair damage, and maintain communication efficiency. These fatty acids are not just structural components, they actively participate in reducing inflammatory activity inside the brain. Inflammation, as discussed earlier, is one of the key factors that disrupts sleep quality and interferes with the brain's ability to carry out its nightly maintenance processes. When inflammation remains elevated, even slightly, it creates a background level of stress inside brain tissue that affects everything from memory formation to signal transmission between neurons. Over time, this can reduce mental clarity and slow down cognitive processing. What makes omega 3s from mackerel so important is their ability to interrupt this process at a biological level, helping restore a more balanced internal environment. Another important aspect of mackerel is its influence on neuroplasticity, which is the brain's ability to form new connections and adapt to new information. This is not just about learning in the traditional sense, but about maintaining flexibility in how the brain processes experiences, stores memories, and responds to changing demands. As people age, neuroplasticity naturally declines, not because the brain loses the ability to adapt, but because the conditions required for adaptation become less optimal. Nutrient availability, sleep quality, and inflammation levels all play a role in this shift. Mackerel supports neuroplasticity by providing the raw materials needed to maintain and strengthen synaptic connections. These are the points where neurons communicate with each other, and their efficiency directly affects memory, learning speed, and cognitive flexibility. When these connections are well maintained, the brain remains responsive and adaptable. When they weaken, thinking becomes slower and less precise. What makes mackerel particularly effective is not just its nutrient content, but the consistency with which it can support these processes when included regularly in the diet. Unlike short term interventions that may create temporary improvements, consistent intake of omega 3 rich foods helps maintain a stable environment where repair and adaptation can occur more efficiently over time. This consistency is what allows the brain to gradually shift from a state of decline to a more balanced and supported state. When mackerel is combined with the previously discussed foods, the system becomes more complete. Sardines and mackerel together reinforce structural integrity and reduce inflammation. Avocado ensures smooth blood flow and supports neurotransmitter balance. Walnuts maintain energy production at the cellular level. Spinach improves sleep quality and enhances nutrient delivery. Each one plays a distinct but interconnected role, and mackerel strengthens the entire framework by stabilizing inflammation and supporting neural adaptability. At this point, it becomes clear that these foods are not acting independently. They form a layered system where each component supports a different aspect of brain